All right, so you want to get a handle on real estate, huh?
Seems like it.
You sent us a ton of info to wade through articles and definitions, even some predictions for 2024.
Yeah,
So
we've got it all right here.
let's dive into it.
I have to say, going through it all,
Okay.
I even learned a few things myself. We're ready to break down the most important stuff for you.
Okay, so before we even get into buying and selling,
Yeah.
let's start with, how do we even define real estate? It seems pretty simple, but I bet there are some things we don't always think
Oh,
of.
for sure.
Right.
It's more than just houses.
Yeah.
Your source defines it as property consisting of land and the structures on it, but also natural resources
Got it.
and any improvements.
Improvements, huh?
Yeah.
So we're not just talking about, like, a fresh coat of paint.
No.
What kind of impact can those have on a property's value?
Oh, it can be significant.
Really?
Think about it this way.
Oh,
A nicely landscaped yard, professionally done. Oh, yeah. That could add up to 10% to the value of a home.
wow.
Even something like adding a fence for privacy
Yeah.
or upgrading those utility connections, those can make a difference too.
Interesting.
They all factor into,
Yeah.
the functionality, the appeal for potential buyers.
Wow. That's way more than I would have guessed.
Yeah.
Makes you realize every detail matters.
It does.
Okay, so we got the land, the structures, and the improvements.
Right.
But real estate isn't just one big category.
No.
Right.
Definitely not.
There are different types, each with their own,
Absolutely.
quirks, I guess.
Absolutely.
Your sources break it down into 5 main types.
Yes.
Let's start with the one we're all probably most familiar with, residential.
Mm-hmm.
That's where most of us live, single-family homes, apartments, condos.
Right.
Even within that category, there's a huge range.
Huge. Absolutely. And then there's commercial real estate, which is, it can be anything from
Right.
that giant office building downtown
Yeah.
to that cute little bakery on the corner that you love.
Okay, so any property used for business basically falls under commercial.
Yeah, pretty much.
What about industrial real estate? When I think of that, I kind of picture giant factories,
Sure.
but I'm guessing it's more than that.
You're right.
Yeah.
It does include those manufacturing facilities.
Right.
But these days, it's also about the logistics,
Right.
Getting things where they need to go.
Yeah.
Think about all the online shopping we do.
Oh, yeah.
All those packages have to be stored,
Right.
transported.
That's a good point. I never connected that to real estate.
It's huge.
Makes total sense.
Massive warehouses, distribution centers.
Okay, so that's industrial.
Yep.
What other types are there?
Well, we've got land,
Okay.
which refers to undeveloped land
Right.
or agricultural land.
Okay.
Think about those
Yeah.
sprawling ranches you
yeah.
see. Or even that empty lot down the street that might be developed someday.
The blank canvas of real estate.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got land.
Then there's the last category,
Okay.
which is special purpose real estate.
Special purpose.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-all
I've
for
seen-
properties with very specific uses.
Okay.
So schools and hospitals are in this category,
Oh, yeah.
but so are amusement parks
Oh, fun.
and even churches.
So basically, if it doesn't fit neatly into the other categories,
Right.
it's probably special purpose.
Exactly.
Okay, so we can't talk about real estate without talking about the market itself.
Oh.
It always seems to be changing.
It's dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the major forces that drive those changes?
One of the most fundamental things you need to understand is supply and demand.
Okay.
Like, if a neighborhood suddenly becomes super desirable,
Right.
but there are only a few houses available,
Yeah.
prices are going to go way up.
That makes sense.
It's like when a new game console comes out.
Yeah.
Limited supply, tons
Yeah.
of demand.
Prices go crazy.
Exactly.
So if you're thinking about buying or selling, you need to be aware of what's happening locally.
For sure.
What about the bigger economic picture?
Oh, that plays a huge role.
How does that factor in?
Well, like interest rates.
Okay.
When they're low, borrowing money is cheaper.
Right.
Easier to get mortgages, buy homes.
Makes sense.
But when those rates jump up,
Then what happens?
those monthly payments get a lot bigger.
Yeah.
People might think twice about buying.
Yeah.
Then you've got factors like recessions,
Uh-huh.
which can really impact demand
Right.
property values.
So it's not just about finding the perfect house.
Well,
You have to be aware of all these other things happening.
right, all these economic winds blowing around.
Right. What about regulation?
Oh, huge impact.
Do they have an impact on the real estate market?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Like zoning laws,
Okay.
they determine what can be built where So that's why you might have a street with just houses and then suddenly there are shops and restaurants.
Yeah.
Zoning dictates that.
It can impact a property's value, too.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine buying a house for peace and quiet,
Right.
and then a developer builds a nightclub next door.
Exactly.
Talk about affecting your property value.
Not to mention your sleep.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
The definition of real estate,
Yeah.
the different types, all those market forces. It's a lot to take in, but super interesting.
But we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, no.
And I know what you're thinking.
What am I thinking?
How can I make some money in this world?
Let's be honest. That's what a lot of people are here for.
All right.
So what are some ways that someone can invest in real estate?
Well, there are a lot of different options,
Right.
each with their own pros and cons.
Okay.
One of the more traditional routes is direct ownership.
That's what I always picture. Buying a rental property or becoming a house flipper.
Right.
Lots of potential, but probably a lot of work too.
You got it.
Right.
With direct ownership, you have a lot of control,
Yeah.
but you're also directly responsible for everything.
Oh, right.
You know, finding tenants,
Right.
handling repairs,
Oh, yeah.
dealing with those late rent payments.
Sounds like you need a strong stomach
Yeah,
and a good plumber on speed dial.
for sure.
What about someone who wants exposure to the real estate market,
Yeah.
but maybe isn't ready to become a landlord?
Mm-hmm.
Are there less hands-on options?
Definitely.
Okay.
REITs, real estate investment trusts.
Okay.
Those are a popular choice.
Okay.
You can kind of think of them like mutual funds for real estate.
Got it.
These companies own and manage a whole portfolio of properties.
Mm-hmm.
And you can buy shares just like you would with a stock.
So instead of owning one whole building, you own a tiny piece of a lot of buildings.
Exactly. It's a great way to diversify.
That's smart.
Yeah.
What about crowdfunding? I feel like I hear that term everywhere these days.
Crowdfunding is a newer way to invest in real estate.
Okay.
It brings together a bunch of investors to
Yeah.
pool their money
Mhm.
and buy properties together,
Okay.
often focusing on specific projects or types of real estate.
So you could get into the game with a smaller amount of money
Yeah.
and buying a whole property yourself.
Exactly.
But there's probably some risk there too.
There are definitely risks.
Okay.
As with any investment,
Sure.
it's important to carefully evaluate
Mm-hmm.
the platform, the
Yeah.
project, the team involved,
Right.
but the potential for return can be higher than with more traditional investments.
Higher risk, higher reward.
Exactly.
Okay, so we got direct ownership,
Mm-hmm.
REITs,
Yep.
crowdfunding,
Mhm.
3 very different approaches
Right.
to real estate investing.
Absolutely.
How do they actually generate income?
Well,
What are the revenue streams?
let's start with direct ownership.
Okay.
If you buy a rental property, your income's going to come from those monthly rent checks.
Right, from your tenants.
But there's also the potential for appreciation,
Appreciation.
the increase in the value of your property
Oh, okay.
over time.
So even if you're not collecting rent, the property itself could become more valuable.
Right.
That's where flipping comes in, right?
Yeah.
Buy it low, fix it up, sell it high.
Exactly.
Hope the value goes way up.
Flipping focuses on making a quick profit
Yeah,
through renovations and a quick resale.
got it.
REITs, on the other hand.
But
You're basically sharing in the income generated by all the properties they own.
okay.
They collect the rent,
Yeah.
pay expenses,
Mm-hmm.
and then distribute some of the profits to shareholders as dividends.
Sounds more passive.
Definitely more of a hands-off approach.
You're not dealing with tenants or repairs.
Right.
Just collecting those profits.
Right.
What about crowdfunding? How does that generate revenue?
Well, it really depends on the specific project. Some might focus on rental income,
Right.
while others might aim for a big payoff when the property is developed or resold.
Okay.
There are even platforms that let you invest in debt.
Debt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Essentially lending money to real estate developers.
So many options.
Tons.
It's just not one size fits all.
It's really not.
Something for everyone.
There is.
But before we move on, I want to touch on another aspect of real estate. Careers.
Okay.
We've been talking about buying, selling, investing,
Yep.
but there's a whole world of jobs
Oh, yeah.
that keep this whole industry running.
You're right.
Right.
There are so many different paths you can take
So many.
beyond just becoming a real estate agent.
Well, let's start with the agents.
Okay.
That's usually what we think of first.
Yeah.
They help people find their dream homes or navigate the crazy world of selling a property.
They're the guides.
Right.
They act as intermediaries between buyers and sellers,
Right.
guiding them through the whole process. Negotiating deals, making sure everything runs smoothly.
Sounds like a job that requires a lot of different skills.
It does.
People skills, market knowledge,
Oh, yeah.
maybe even a little bit of therapy on the side.
Probably.
Who else is part of this real estate world?
Well, you've got property managers
Okay.
who handle the day-to-day operations
Right.
of properties, especially for those owners who
Yeah.
don't want to be hands-on landlords.
Leaky faucets, noise complaints,
Yeah.
late night calls.
Yep. They're the unsung heroes of the rental market.
They are.
And then, of course, you have developers
The developers, okay.
who create the properties in the first place.
Yeah.
They're the ones with the vision who see the potential in an empty lot or an old building
Yeah.
and turn it into something new.
They're the ones shaping the skylines of our towns and cities.
Yeah, huge responsibility,
It is.
considering how these projects impact communities.
Absolutely.
Who else?
Who else is important?
Well, can't forget the appraisers.
Appraisers, right.
They're the experts at figuring out how much a property is worth.
Oh, so they make sure no one's getting ripped off.
Exactly.
Okay.
They make sure buyers and sellers are getting a fair deal. Banks are lending responsibly.
God.
They use their knowledge of the market and the specific property
Right.
to come up with a fair number.
So they're essential
Oh, yeah.
for mortgages, property taxes, insurance claims.
Pretty much everything.
Okay. And then, of course, we have the investors.
Right.
We were just talking about them.
Yep.
They fuel a lot of this activity.
They do.
Right.
They provide the capital, the vision
Yeah.
to drive new development, breathe new life into those existing properties.
It's amazing to see how many different roles there are.
It really is.
It's a whole world
It is.
with opportunities for different skills, interests,
Absolutely.
but the world's changing fast.
Gotcha.
Real estate's no exception, based on your research.
Yeah.
What are some of the key trends shaping the future of this industry?
Well, technology is a big one.
Technology. Okay.
It's changing how we buy, sell, invest, and even experience real estate,
Okay.
like virtual reality.
VR. Okay.
You can tour properties from your own home.
I've seen those ads.
Right.
You put on a headset, and suddenly you're walking through a house,
Right.
checking out the views, getting a feel for the space.
Pretty amazing.
It sounds so futuristic.
Is it catching on?
Is it?
Yeah, it's becoming increasingly common,
Interesting.
especially with remote work.
Right, yeah.
People wanting convenience. And it's not just virtual tours.
Okay.
AI is being used.
AI, wow.
Yeah, to analyze market trends, match buyers with properties,
Okay.
streamline the whole process.
So technology is making the whole experience smoother, more efficient, more accessible.
For sure.
What about sustainability? That feels like a big concern these days.
It's huge.
Can't imagine real estate's immune.
It's not.
Right.
Sustainability is a major focus in the real estate world.
Okay.
Buyers are super interested
Yeah.
in eco-friendly homes. Developers are incorporating sustainable features.
So we're talking solar panels,
Yep.
energy efficient appliances, green building materials.
All that good stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
Not only does it appeal to buyers,
Right.
it also means lower energy costs.
Right.
Smaller environmental footprint.
Win-win.
Win-win.
Okay, last trend. Urbanization versus suburbanization. It feels like people are always debating
Always.
city life versus the peace and quiet
Right.
of the suburbs.
It's a fascinating dynamic.
It is.
We're seeing growth in urban areas
Okay.
as people are drawn to that, vibrancy, diversity,
Yeah.
convenience of city life,
Right, yeah.
walkable neighborhoods, public transportation, cultural attractions.
I can definitely see the appeal,
Yeah.
especially for younger generations. But what about the suburbs? Are they being left behind?
Not at all.
Okay.
We've also seen a surge in interest in suburban living.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Particularly since the pandemic.
Oh, interesting.
People are seeking more space,
Right.
affordability, a sense of community.
Okay.
Remote work has made it easier
Yeah.
to live further from city centers
Makes sense.
without sacrificing job opportunities.
So it's not an either.
Nope.
It's about finding what's best for you.
Exactly.
Your lifestyle, your priorities, your budget.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Both markets have a lot to offer.
Yeah.
The choice ultimately comes down to what you prefer.
Okay, so we've covered the exciting trends
We have.
shaping the future of real estate. But let's face it.
Okay.
Every industry has challenges,
It does.
right?
Right.
What are some potential hurdles that people need to be aware of?
Well, I think one of the biggest is that the real estate market, it's cyclical.
Okay.
Because we talked about economic facts like interest rates,
Yeah.
recessions,
Right.
they can really impact those property values.
Oh.
What goes up can come down.
Yeah.
Investors need to be prepared for that.
So it's not just a guaranteed path to riches.
No.
You can't just assume everything's going to keep going up forever.
Right.
And those fluctuations can be different depending on where you are.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, the national market could be booming.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean every city or even every neighborhood is seeing the same thing.
That's where the research comes in.
That's where it's key.
Knowing what's happening locally,
Absolutely.
just nationally.
Right.
What else?
Another challenge is all those regulations.
Oh, yeah.
It's a whole web of them.
Right.
Permits, zoning,
Yeah.
property taxes.
Okay.
It can be a lot to figure out.
Yeah. It sounds overwhelming.
And the rules are different everywhere.
So you could easily get bogged down in all that,
Oh, for sure.
especially if you're new to this.
Oh, that's why it's so important.
Yeah.
To have experts on your side.
Right.
Agents, lawyers, accountants.
Got it.
They can guide you.
Make sure you're doing things the right way.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Definitely not.
It's better to have someone in your corner who knows what they're doing.
Than to try to do it alone.
Okay, last challenge. Environmental issues. How are those impacting real estate,
Well,
both now and in the future?
climate change is a reality.
Right.
And it affects everything.
Yeah.
Real estate's no exception.
Okay.
Natural disasters,
Mhm.
sea levels rising,
Right.
extreme weather.
Yeah.
Those are all risks to property.
Okay.
They can affect insurance rates, property values.
It's not just about finding a place with a nice view anymore.
Right.
You have to think about those long-term risks.
Exactly.
What if that beachfront property you buy,
Yeah.
suddenly the beach starts disappearing?
Right. Exactly.
Wow, it's a lot to consider.
It is.
Real estate isn't just about bricks and mortar.
It's not.
It's tied to all these bigger things.
No, absolutely. It's a microcosm of
Yeah.
the world around us.
Our values, our priorities, even the challenges we face.
You got it.
That's a pretty profound conclusion.
It is, isn't it?
We started with the basics, explored all the different types,
Yep.
market dynamics, investment strategies,
Right.
careers, trends,
Yeah.
challenges.
Cover.
It is.
Yeah.
But it shows how interesting this world is.
It's fascinating.
It's not just about buying and selling.
No.
It's about building communities, creating spaces for people, even thinking about the future of the planet.
It really is.
Well said.
Thank you.
But before we get too philosophical,
Right.
what are some key takeaways for our listener?
If I had to pick one,
Okay.
it would be this.
Okay.
Real estate is full of possibilities.
Right.
But you got to approach it with knowledge, awareness, and a little bit of caution.
Don't jump in blindly. Just do your research. Know the market.
For sure.
Be aware of the risks. Ask for help when you need it.
Exactly.
It can be a rewarding path.
It can.
Finding a home, investing, even building a career. But go in with your eyes open.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about.
We have.
As with any deep dive, this is just the beginning.
It is.
What's the final thought you want to leave with?
Well, I'd say,
Right.
what sparked your curiosity the most? What questions do you still have?
Yeah.
Real estate is always evolving. The more you learn, the more fascinating it gets.
So keep those questions coming.
Yeah.
We'll be here
We will.
to guide you through this crazy world.
Until next time.
Happy exploring.